Hi everyone, welcome to our performance tool video series. Believe it or not, there are other tools out there other than ProTop. I know, it's a shocker. In this video series, we're going to talk to you about the tools that we use every day here at White Star Software when we're investigating database performance issues. All right, let's get started. Today we're going to start with the most basic of all these performance tools, and that's promon. So promon is something that's available to everyone, every version of Progress since at least the beginning of my career 27 years ago. It's always available to you. You should learn how to use it for the times when you don't have ProTop handy. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start promon. It's simply promon and the name of the database. And in this case, you can see I'm using the S2K database. Now, interestingly, we talk about this R&D summary that I highlighted on the screen. In older versions of promon, that was a hidden function. You know, it wasn't visible to anyone. But now, as of version 11, they just put it in there for everyone. And then usually the first thing I do here is I go right away to promon activity counters and I go to the summary, activity summary. And this gives me a great kind of overall view of what's going on in the database, where I am in the database exactly. Now the problem here with this activity view is it's since the start of the database. So in my particular case, this Sports 2000 database was started 3,000 hours ago. What's that, 150 days ago or 100 and something days ago? And so what happens, you know, today, yesterday, this week, it's not going to move the needle at all. And that's problematic because you're probably debugging a problem or you're dealing with an issue and you can't really see the issue when you're looking at this really long view of what's going on. So really what I like to do here is I like to zero the counters at the very least, right? So we're going to hit Z to zero the counters. And now you'll see, okay, the counters are at 0. I'll hit U to update the counters. And now I'll see the last, 5 seconds, the last 10 seconds of what's going on in the database. And this is a lot more interesting really to me right now, right? I can see what's going on. I can kind of see trends per second of what's going on right now. I still don't have historical data, so I still can't see, what happened an hour ago or earlier, but at least I have, something. And then the next thing I always go to is I go to the status displays, right? So I go back to the main menu, I go to status displays, and I go through all of these screens pretty much the first time. I want to make sure that everything is set up properly, for example, I don't know, I'll look at the AI files or the BI files, I'll go in and I'll take a look, and I get all kinds of information about, I don't know, when was the last log file truncation on the database? What's the block size of the database? When was the last time I did, I don't know, whatever. You'll see things like the BI cluster size, really important. Is, the BI cluster size set to be 512K, which is the default, which is great for a workgroup database, but not so great for an enterprise database. So I like to see all of this information. Did I set the BI block size to 16K? Did I set the AI block size to 16K, for example? Now, the first thing you'll notice here on the checkpoint screen is there's a lot more columns maybe in version 12 than you were used to seeing in version 10 or 11 and even earlier. And that's because a lot of these columns used to be hidden. You had to know the secret keystroke, to see version 11, to see some of these columns that are now visible in version 12. So a lot of information that's available to you. For example, how full is the current cluster? So you can see how quickly by hitting update, 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 you can see how quickly that cluster is filling. The other really cool thing about this screen now in version 12 is they added this num checkpoint startup parameter. So until very, very recently, you really only had the last 8 checkpoints. So if you were doing a lot of updates in the database, you might have only had checkpoint information for the last 10, 20, 30 seconds, right? It's the last 8 checkpoints. Now the default value is 32 checkpoints, and you can set it to any value you want. just by using this num checkpoint startup parameter. So really, really very, very cool. Gives you a longer history of what's going on in the checkpoint screen. All right. So that's promon. I don't want to go into every screen. Go ahead, go play around with it. You know, go try it out. Really important tool to have in your DBA toolkit. The only thing I'll advise you is don't change anything. If you don't know what you're doing, don't change anything in the administrative options, all right? There's good things you can do, there's bad things you can do there, so if you're not sure, please don't do anything in the administrative options. So thank you very much, appreciate your time, and looking forward to seeing you in the next Performance Tools video coming out in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.